right. Hi. Hi. Hi, nerds. I'm Taylor. It's a Cranky comic book review show. It is April 11th, 2023. And look, I've got a lot of books today. Like a lot. And I might cheat my way through some of them. But buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy-ass ride. I don't know why I said that. We're not going for a ride. Anyways, Cranky comic book review show, worst to best. There are no rules. I make them up as I go along. And we're going to start with... what is this called? Marvel Voices Spider-Verse #1. I don't care about this book. Look, here's the thing. I'm not always immune to spec stuffiness. And there's like at least one first appearance in here, maybe two. It's a Marvel Voices. It's a chance for creators to tell short stories, and these are all Spider-Verse characters. The problem is like, it's not a good format. It really isn't. And like, they're all constrained by Marvel editorial, so most of these stories just kind of suck. There's a new female Craven and maybe a first appearance of some character called Recluse. I don't know. There's some inclusivity with the writing and the art and stuff, and that's fine. But the boring as hell stories in here aren't going to change anybody's mind. There was a Silk story that started off actually really kind of intriguing and then just fizzled away into absolute garbage. And so, yeah, this is not a good book. It's not really probably worth checking out unless you are just a dirty specker. So... yeah, and speaking of which, this is the only copy my store had. It's not going to get a 9.8, so I wasted $10. It is what it is. All right. Some of these, like I said, I'm going to try and go a little bit more quickly this week just because I got a giant stack of books. Next, we have, speaking of giant, the giant Kokju. I don't know how you pronounce this. I apologize if I'm butchering it. It's Jerry Duggan. I don't know how you pronounce it. I apologize if I'm butchering it. I don't. Here's the thing. I don't like his writing. And I just didn't look closely. I saw giant Kaiju is how I was. Anyways, giant monsters fighting. I was like, oh, well, yeah, I'll pick that up. The problem is this is a humor book, and it falls flat on almost every count. It relies a lot on weird monster body humor, and it's not funny. It's a little gross, but not even gross enough to be good. And it's just kind of, I don't know, it's pretty awful. This might actually be worse than the Marvel Voices book, but I don't know. There's at least kaiju in it or giant monsters. And I don't know. There's an essay about humanity and not paying attention and whatever, not so subtly veiled stuff, which I don't have a problem with social messages in my comics. I just have a problem with bad storytelling and shitty jokes. And this is all bad storytelling and shitty jokes. Like, I really hated this. Don't waste your money on it. It's fucking god-awful. All right, next. Guardians of the Galaxy #1. I have never read a Guardians of the Galaxy book. I think maybe back when they were first introduced in X-Men. Is that when they first were introduced? I might have read some of them, and they were very different back then. And now this is sort of the movified version of these characters. And they're fighting impending doom and whatnot. It's fine. It's a harmless book. It's not fantastic. It's not awful. The art is decent some of the time and just, serviceable others. The artist is Kev Walker, and I think when Kev Walker has splash pages and fun flexiness and, the ability to do some of that, it's cool. It's just when he's stuck doing faces and close-ups and then it just kind of turns into really dull, boring nonsense. And the story itself, it's all right. It's setting up a new big baddie kind of thing, and apparently the Guardians have been off and whatever. I don't care. There wasn't enough in this to hook me, and that's the thing. It's written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzing. I'm not familiar with either of their work, so I don't know if they've written anything worth reading. I picked this up because it was the first issue, and I'm a sucker, and I was like, well, I'll try it. I won't be continuing it. It's just nothing in here really grabbed me enough to get it going. I like the idea of like the Old West and stuff, and I thought maybe be an Old West kind of Guardians book. It's really not. It's not at all. All right, this one. You know what? I'm going to switch these a little bit. All right, next we have another book I just don't care. Like, I should. And I care a little more. Well, hang on. How much do I care? Yeah, we're switching back. Stillwater 18. This is the last. Is this 18? Yeah, it's the last issue of Stillwater. this is a limp dick ending. It is that it's Chip Zdarsky and it's Roman K. Perez. This series started off amazingly strong, and I really liked it. And it was hurt by the schedule and the release, and like just delay after delay after delay. And then they just released the last couple on a schedule. But I just had lost interest by then, and I think a lot of people had. And the ending itself doesn't do a whole lot to gain you interest. It does still feel, even from a couple issues ago, that there's gaps in the story that are just not being told, and it feels a little rushed for an ending. And the ending itself is pretty kind of predictable. And it's like, okay, well, that happened, I guess, which is sad because like I said, I really enjoyed the beginning of this series. But if you're going to have a series and it's like a story, they have a beginning, a middle, and the ending. The beginning was great, the middle is all right, the ending, no. So no, I don't care. Should I go back and reread it all? Probably. Will I? Probably not. I mean, honestly, like it just what I read in here was not enough to interest me to be like, oh, I should go back and like see if I missed anything and like any subtleties in the story. And yeah, I don't care. It's better than Guardians, but not bad, not much. And then, all right, another one. Here's the thing: I'm a sucker for Sandman. I love the comic, and I just get sucked in. All right, so forgive me. And I like the Corinthian. He's a villain, and there's Corinthian in this kind of. Not really this issue, though, is there? A little bit. Yeah, there is. Sandman Nightmare Country, The Glass House, written by James Tiny Onion. I will say this. More happens in this book than has happened in the last 5 issues of Something's Killing Children, so that's better. The pacing is at least a little bit faster. Not fast. I mean, it's still kind of glacially slow. And then the artwork by... who the hell's the artwork by? Here's the thing with these. They just put the fucking art... Put all this shit in the beginning. There we go. All right, it's Lisandro Esteren is the artist. And I don't mind the art. It's kind of got a loose sketchiness to it. Kind of fits in the old Vertigo ways. That I don't mind. And the panel grids are fine. They don't cross over wonkily, which leads me to believe it's Werther Dell'Edera doing all that in Something's Killing the Children. I know we're not really reviewing Something's Killing the Children. We're reviewing this book, but... whatever. It's my channel. You do what I want. And yeah, this is all right. It's fine. If you love the Corinthian and you love the last Nightmare Country that Tynion did, that I think just fizzled into nothing. Or I don't even remember I finished it. I don't. It's if I did, there was nothing in there that really gripped me as far as like an ending. and this beginning is okay. It's just there's not enough in here for me to keep going. Even with a couple ideas that are introduced that are kind of interesting, and a couple of like threads that like are getting thrown out that are kind of compelling, it's still not enough. I'm still kind of I'll probably read it digitally. I've been saying that forever, and I lie to myself a lot. Once I actually get the DC Universe Unlimited option, whatever the fuck it's called, maybe I'll read it digitally. It'll go on that digital stack of bits and bytes and bobs and weaves. But for now, this one. It's not enough. Just read the original Sandman. You'll have a much better time. All right, filler issue. We got a filler issue here, people. Moon Knight, number 22. This is a Tigra issue. Tiger hunts the Midnight Man. It's still fun. It's one of like this. Moon Knight has been solid. This is just not the most solid issue of it. And part of it is it's like kind of a jarring transition to the viewpoint of Tigra, who like has been a character in Moon Knight in the past couple of issues, but really hasn't, light and fluffy and hasn't done much. And now this is implying that there's more that's been happening, and it's been happening apparently off panel, which, all right, that's fine. But the things that happen in panel in this, it's decent. Not my favorite by any means. I'm still going to keep reading it. It's still Capucci's art, and I love it. It's just what there is of a story in here is not fantastic, and it's pretty predictable. And so it drops down a few notches. It's probably my least favorite Moon Knight issue to date. And that's saying something. No, it's not actually, because I really enjoyed the rest of this. And this is okay. It's just there's not really a whole lot to talk about without spoiling it. And even if I were to spoil it, it's just not that interesting to spoil. So, all right, hang on. All right, we have the penultimate issue of My Little Monsters, number 12. This is it ends at issue number 13. This is Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. and they're little monsters, little vampires at the end of the world. This book has not been my favorite of Lemire's. It's just been such a slow-paced, nothing is really happening kind of thing for the whole run, honestly. Stuff does happen in this issue. And now it feels like we're kind of like racing towards a resolution. And we'll see if it sticks the landing. I'm not optimistic. I love Lemire. I really do. And I will read, I will still buy anything he reads. And I think I missed a book or two this week that the LCS didn't get that came out this week. I'll have to look. I think there was one that came out that I'm like, or an issue number 2 that came out that they didn't get. Whatever. Yeah, there was with Gabriel Luna or something. Anyways, I'm rambling all over the place. So I'll have to hunt that down. I have a list of things I get at other shops, and you'll see there's stuff in this list that I did not get this week. But yeah, penultimate. I'm rambling. I love the word penultimate. It's such a great sounding word for such a dumb concept. It means just second to last. So it's the second to last issue of this. It'll even Dustin Meehan's art on this issue feels a little bit loose. And he's been drawn pretty loosely in this, but like there are some panels and some things in here. I'm like, dude, did you spend a whole 4 seconds on this? And I realize you don't need to spend time on art for it to be good. I think some of my favorite things are gesture drawings and quick gestural sketches. But when you're in the storytelling medium and like you're trying to tell a story and there's like panels of faces that stand out as like, oh, that's a face. All right, I'll give it to you, I guess. Yeah, all right. And this story, the conflict is starting to ramp up, and there's shifting alliances, and there's stuffy stuff that happens, and it is actually, you can tell, is sort of heading towards an ending of sorts. I've got a feeling it's going to be one of those open-ended endings. Open-ended, yeah, words. And I hope not. I hope it just resolves and is done. I probably won't get volume 2 of this if there is one. It's just, again, I would love Lemire, and I'll generally pick up anything he gets, anything he does, but this one just didn't do it for me. And this issue is one of the better ones, but as a whole, the series is just kind of like one big shrug. All right, next. This one came out a couple weeks ago, and LCS just didn't get it, so I went hunting this weekend, and I found it elsewhere. Plush, number 5. Same crew that did vinyl and other stuff and whatever. Doug Wagner and Danielle Hilliard. Murder Plushies versus the cops. That's this issue. And it's violent, it's brutal, there's not a whole lot of depth to it, but it's kind of weird, wacky fun. And by that I mean murder and blood and gore. The art is deceptively clean and simple. There's probably not a whole lot of here I can show you, and I swear like a sailor on this channel. I just don't want to like gross out some of you delicate folks. And yeah, but it's like it's not going to change the world. This is like I think also the penultimate issue, I believe, and it looks like it's going to wrap up in truly crazy style. So if you like the idea of murder plushie cannibals and corrupt cops fighting each other, pick up this book. I dig the cover. I dig the color. I like the hot pink. The rest of the cover, I don't know. Okay, I like the hot pink and the logo. All right, next. Salsa came out a couple weeks ago. All Against All number 4. This is going to read better as a trade. I don't buy this. That's honestly, it's Alex Packnadel and Casper Wingard on the Casper Wingard is the art, and then it's solid. It's these creators that are now fighting their creation. It's got some Predator vibes. It's got some Alien vibes. It's just, the art itself is stylized and wonky, and I'm mostly here for it. Although there are some confusing panels in here, it's a fun romp. It's just not. It definitely, I think, will read better collected. And I can't remember if I've read the other Packnadel stuff. I think so. I think I have, and it's slipping as to what it is. And the art is not going to be for everybody. It really isn't. It's a solid issue, and it's leading up to, I believe, the conclusion. Maybe not. Yeah, 5 of 5. So this is another penultimate issue. We're in the penultimate stack of books right now. Sorry, I'll stop saying that word. I probably won't, actually. All right, next. I missed issue number 2 of this, so take it for what it's worth. Mosely number 3. Rob Gilroy and Sam Lotfi. I went to the other LCS, and that's where I found issue number 3, but they did not have issue number 2, so I'm kind of behind on this. I know, I need to do a pull list. It is what it is. Moses Set My People Free. This is a sort of retelling of Moses, but not really. There's a man angry at the world he's living in, and he's living in the world where there's techno-gods, and he's taking out these techno-gods with a hammer he's been gifted. So it's like Moses, Thor, wackiness. Judgment, Righteous Fury, and Indignation. It's a solid, fun romp. I know I just said that at the last one, but it's true. And there's some cool art. There's some big splashy pages here from Sam Lotfi, and yeah, I probably would be able to more effectively review this if I caught number 2. It's another one of those books where I think I'd probably trade weight it, and I know that's not always the right answer because creative artists need to make money to survive, and you buy the monthlies, and then they can maybe get an idea people want to trade, but whatever. Some things just read better in trade, so fuck it. It is what it is. And I think this will probably read better in trade. Again, it's hard for me to say because I missed a chunk of this, but there's backstory here with Mosely. There's a little bit of I set up as far as maybe a possible betrayal goes, and you get a little bit of idea where he got this hammer and some consequences of him taking out these techno gods. So it's fun, it's solid. If you like Rob Gilroy, you'd probably like this one. So all right, and here's where I'm cheating because otherwise you're going to be here all damn day. I mean, we're going to be here all damn day anyway. So it is what it is. Ambassador number 1 and number 2. I'm going to review them together because I read them both within a day or two of each other. I got this one over the weekend, and I read this one today. So, yeah, issue number 1 and 2. Mark Miller and Frank Whiteley on issue number 1, and Carl Kerschel on issue number 2. I love Frank Whiteley's art. I think he's a fantastic fit for this book, and I wish he were on every issue, but I think every issue is going to have a different artist, and that makes it a little tricky. Yeah, definitely, because, yeah. Well, maybe not. This is a different... Mark Miller, Jesus Christ. How do you keep up with... He just writes, prolifically, and it's hard to keep up with. So, yeah, 8 billion people, 6 can have superpowers. That's the setup. And that's pretty much issue number 1 without spoiling it. There's more to it, but not a whole lot. You learn in issue number 1 who's behind the dishing out of the superpowers, and that's it. If it were just issue number 1, I probably would have ranked it a little lower, even though I love the art. Issue number 2, I think, is a better story and shittier art. So you get Carl Keschel, and you get you start to learn while you learn one of the heroes that's chosen to have the superpowers, and you learn maybe there's some of the search criteria, kind of not really. It's kind of some of that gets brushed off pretty quickly, and then you just learn about this person, and it's a decent enough thing. It's not anything spectacular either of these. It's a premise that I think I've seen a lot before, like America's Got Superpowers or whatever. Who do you choose? And I wish the choices were a little more interesting. I mean, it's decent. If you like Mark Miller, you'll probably like it. And he's got some statements about the world and stuff he's making in here. He's subtle as a hammer, but yeah, it's fine. Will I keep up with this? This is borderline. This is maybe. I'm going to look at the next issue. If my LCS gets it, I'll see from there. So not bad, but not amazing. All right, next we have Nocterra number 13. Yeah, it's not a bad issue, Nocterra. This one Nocterra's just kind of losing me a bit, and some of that was it went on a long break, and then it came back a couple issues ago, or an issue ago, 2 issues ago. I can't even remember when it came back, and it's just hard. Oh yeah, I think this was supposed to come out today. I didn't. Son of a bitch, World Tree. Anyways. I didn't get that one. And yeah, it's still, you get the same characters that in the whole thing, and it seems like the same conflict, just new flavors on the same conflict. Like the plot needs to actually start progressing and getting somewhere, and at the end of this issue, I think it actually might, but you got to get through the whole issue to get to that. And it's not a bad journey. I mean, the journey is part of the destination, and it's Scott Snyder and Tony Daniel, and if you liked Nocterra up until now, you'll probably like this. And if you liked one of the bad guys previously, you'll probably like this. And you get a little bit more B story of one of the heroes or protagonists or whatever and stuff. It's just it was just a little hard for me to get into. And that's maybe on me, but I don't know. Maybe just losing the interest in it. It's still good. I'll keep up with this one for a little bit longer and we'll see. So Next, we have The Nasty, number 1. This one I just kind of grabbed. Vault Comics. Nightfall, which is a subsidy of whatever. Vault subprint. I didn't realize Vault was big enough to have. Oh, John Lees. Yeah, okay. And George Comadeus and Adam Kuhn on the art. So I'm probably butchering the art. But John Lees, he did the Crimson Cage story, and this is a wacky horror-themed book that's got some elements of Scream in it, and 80s horror of working in a 90s working in a video store, and tropey bad guys. The main character in this is has an imaginary friend that's a horror movie star, the Nasty, I believe, or the Nasty is actually and then these movies are all banned because they're bad for us. So that's a statement on censorship, right? That's subtle, right? We're going through it today. Don't go to Florida. Yeah, so it's a Max Killer from his favorite film. That's on the back. I'm not spoiling much. And then there's like, they get together to try and like save the video store. It's a fun enough setup. This issue is mostly setup. But I like the setup in this. I like the premise, and I like the weirdness of this all. The art is a little cartoony for what you get. Like, it doesn't feel... It's on trend for what's been going on, like really light line work, and relying on the colors to do the heavy lifting and relying on that. And it's not awful. It's just like, if you're going to tell a horror story, I would maybe have a little bit more horrific art or a little bit more grounded art and a little less straightforward cartooniness of it. I think I can't remember who John Lee's collaborated with on Crimson Cage, but I think that artist would have been a better choice for this one. But it's a fun idea. If you love like VHS tape horror stuff and like are addicted to that kind of thing, this is probably a good one for you. So I'll give it this one. I definitely will give another issue, at least to see. All right, and then we have Bad Batman or Nemesis Reloaded number 4. I don't know how many this one's going to be. I'm going to guess it's penultimate. It seems like it's the penultimate, coming for the ultimate conclusion. It's Mark Miller again, Jorge Jimenez. Jorge Jimenez's art is amazing. It always is. And this is like, what if like a Batman was created by corrupt police, basically, the origin story. And then you get Nemesis, and then this is a revenge tale against everything. It's like watching the world burn. It's not deep literature. It's not revelatory, really. It's a lot of fun. If you like Jorge Jimenez's art and you like Mark Miller's kind of over-the-top shenanigans, you'll probably like this. It feels like a kind of a Garth Ennis book to me as well, like that kind of level of like parody and just like The Boys, kind of the over-the-top. I know I keep saying that. I can't think of a better word for it. But yeah, Jorge Jimenez is great, and it's a fun story. It's fun and stupid and ridiculous, and it seems like it's racing towards a conclusion that I don't know. Who knows how it's going to go? And I never read the original Nemesis, so I'm not down on that. But look, you get some gorgeous splash pages and stuff in here. So if you just want a comic where you don't really have to think a whole lot and it still looks cool, and you're like, yeah, that's kind of badass. Nemesis Reloaded. All right, next one. We want a comic where you have to think, and it's not really telling you much. You're like, what the fuck is going on here? But it's still kind of cool. We have The Seasons Have Teeth number 1 by Dan Waters. Art by Sebastian Carroll and Dan Jackson. This is an end of the world, I think, horror story where like the seasons have personifications or the world's ending and like nothing really grows anymore. And there's just a guy that's like old and sad and wants to kind of see it. I'm not really sure which. It could go either way in this tale, and it's got enough like of these like kind of gothic horror elements, and the art is intriguing enough, and everything in here is just about enough to keep me going. And also, I like Dan Waters' writing, so I kind of trust him to get me somewhere interesting. Like there's these vines that start growing, and I don't know, it sounds like the fungus and from Mungus, The Last of Us Among Us or whatever. It's not that, but it's just vines that grow and like they're evil apparently, and then there's other stuff. I don't want to spoil everything in here, even though it doesn't like really come to a resolution at the end of issue number 1. It just does have enough of a wacky ass like premise mixed with some dark imagery and some like what the fuck is going on. Just like a nice good blend of that. Where you're like, okay, I don't really understand this yet, but I'm down for it. And that's kind of how I feel about this one. I don't think it's going to go crazy off the rails and stay like in the I don't know what's going on forever, because that just doesn't seem like Dan Waters' style. But I do think, I think he's enjoying playing with people a little bit. So I wish maybe in this one there was a little bit more cohesiveness and a little bit more of like, oh, that's what's up. But I don't mind being patient and waiting to find out what's up. So Seasons of Teeth number 1. All right, next. we have Traveling to Mars number 5. This is not the penultimate. I think I've seen the promo for issue number 7. Like, I don't think that it's not an ongoing. I don't think, but whatever. It's a dying dude who has got cancer is like sent to Mars to lay claim for it for a meat factory, basically, or a factory. I can't remember what the actual factory. I think it was meat, but whatever, doesn't matter. And this is just about the journey and the life lessons that this dying man is realizing, probably too late, while he's trapped on a spaceship. And like you get to relive moments of the past, and it's like, again, kind of like about a wasted life. Or is it? Like you start of these small moments, you're like, well, that doesn't really seem like a waste. But it's just, it's Mark Russell on the writing and Roberto Melli on the art. And so, like, what Russell's basically doing here is, like, saying, okay, the idea of a wasted life is maybe not accurate. Like, it's like, just because the person's not extraordinary in their own eyes or in the eyes of the world, does not necessarily mean that everything they've gone through is a waste. And it's kind of been like a journey to get to this part of it. And it's been a journey for the main character too, and I think like you get to watch a little bit, probably too late character growth in here, and a kind of a touching tale. So I've been really enjoying Traveling to Mars, and I don't know. I know there's at least 7 issues. I don't know how many. I don't know how long it's going to go. So, and it does have enough of like trademark Mark Russell like ridiculousness too. Like, oh yeah, we're just going to lay claim to this part of the Mars by getting there first, and then we'll get all the shit that's on Mars. So, I don't know, fun one. All right, next. This is the end, I think, for now. The ultimate issue, the last issue, and it's a cliffhanger-y. Oh, no, next issue, book 2 begins. Never mind. So this is Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, issue number 5? Yeah, this came out last week or the week before. 5, I think, whatever. Yeah, and this is Jason Aaron with Alexandra Tefengi on the art. And this is a post-apocalyptic ranger tale, which there have been a few of those lately, but this is one of the more fun, wacky ones, and it's like love at the end of the world, and Once Upon a Time. See, it's in the title, and so these two characters have come across each other, and over the course of 5 issues, they've kind of like fallen for each other, and then the one that's the more ridiculous of the two, at first glance, has to like prove their worthiness in this issue. So it's a fun story. I like it. I can't talk about a whole lot what happens here without really spoiling it, which makes it a tricky review. But if you like fairy tale, fable-y kind of things, and you like a sort of lighthearted end of the world story with a little bit of violence and some danger thrown in, and yeah, all right, it's fun. Like Jason, I really like what Jason Darren's doing here, and I'm like liking the writing a bit, like quite a bit. And the art by Alexander Tefengi, it's not bad. There's pages I like better than others, and there's panels I like better than others. Very sparse background-y stuff, which I don't mind. It focuses on the main characters. And a little cartoony, but that fits kind of the tone of the story, too. So, digging it. All right, and me shading again because whatever, it is what it is. We have Barbaric, Hell to Pay 2 and 3. 3 came out today, 2 came out a month ago, and this is, if you've ever played a role-playing game or gone and seen the new Dungeons and Dragons movie, this will have a familiar tone for you. It's just comedy fantasy. It's not going to change the world. It's Michael Morici and is it Russ Gooden? Hang on, Nathan Gooden as the artist. So Michael Morici writing, and there's an axe that talks and drinks blood, but and the barbarian can only kill righteous or people that deserve it, right? And that's the premise for the series. This is like a series of miniseries. This is the 3rd volume, I believe. But now the barbarian's in hell, and like his friends are trying to sort of get him out, and he's in hell trying to deal with other shit. So there's 2 plots going on here, and they're both a lot of fun. They're both just kind of wacky, kill everybody ridiculousness. The art gets a little bit hard to follow in places, and the coloring is a little bit like one-noted. Like I think Addison Duke. And I have a feeling this is drawn digitally. It feels like it, and then it feels like some panels are just kind of blown up instead of like drawn at the proper size. They're just like this panel here. It feels like these characters were drawn at a different size and then either enlarged or reduced to fit the page. I could be wrong on that, but that's just my feeling on it. And that's nitpicking. It's a fun book. I love the idea of the characters, and I like the journey we've been going on with the Barbarian, where he's learning to have a little bit of a soul, but really not much. And if you've liked the other volumes of this, I think you'll enjoy this. I do think thus far the first volume has probably been the strongest, but that's easy to say because you get introduced to the concept and then you're off on the ride, and that half the fun of this is getting introduced to the world. And so once you're in this world, you're in it. I wouldn't suggest starting with this volume. I don't think you'll have any damn clue really what's going on. So go hunt down a trade or something of the first Barbaric, and jump on in. It's probably not a ton of money. The first volume was only like 3 issues, and then the second volume was like 3 or 4, and this one's looking like 4 or 5. So it's getting a little bit longer each time. But if you're missing like pure Dungeons and Dragons-y type fantasy in your reading repertoire, and you want it to be just kind of fun and stupid and have frogs with long tongues and evil monsters and hell and devilry and all that. Yeah, there you go. All right, next. Crime Noir set at the end in the future. Clear number 2. This is Scott Snyder and Francis Manipul. Clear, there's this world where everyone has veils, and it's a drug people take or whatever. It's a way of them not seeing the real world. So they're all in these like hallucinatory things, except for this main character who's clear-headed. Or is he? But he is. But is he? I don't know. It's a crime noir. It's crime noir. You get a lot of bang for your buck in this one. This one, like, even the last like 4 or 5 pages, like, last couple spreads are just logo explorations, which is still kind of cool. But like, you probably get 2 full-size issues in here. I didn't do a page count. It's $5. It's Dark Horse. It's on glossy paper. And if you like Scott Snyder's writing, I would say pick it up. If you like crime noir, if you're like fans of Blade Runner or like that kind of future world, I'd say pick this one up. Or like Chinatown. Like, it feels like a Chinatown set in the future. And like Francis Manipul's art is fantastic on this. You learn enough of the backstory about the main character to understand why he's clear, and you learn quite a bit. Actually, there's quite a lot actually like revealed in this issue, which feels like 2 issues. And then it's gorgeous. I mean, honestly, but then also the more you get into it, like a good noir mystery, the deeper it is. You're like, well, I don't know what the fuck's going on still. And so, like, you have to be in the mood for a mystery and along for the ride on this one. But I'm really liking this. I like the first issue. I think this is better. So yeah, if you're a fan of Scott Snyder, pick it up. If you're a fan of anything I just said, I'd say get it. You could probably hunt down issue number 1. I don't think it's sold out a lot of places. But there we go. Clear number 2. Like I said, it's a thick boy. I don't know how many pages. And it's a Comixology Originals. It might have been, I think this was published digitally at first. So maybe you can just read it digitally if you're down for that. And off to the races, people. We have 2 left. One of my favorite miniseries that's been coming out lately, and now when it came out today, God, I know I need to make a pull list. I'll stop bitching. I'll find it. I'll catch up. You'll read it watch my review when I get to it. People, that's how it is. This is the nature of my life right now. I work a day job. I got no energy. I'm tired and old. Anyways, Know Your Station number 3. This is Sarah Gailey, Liana Congas, and Rebecca Nolte. This is murder on a space station. Maybe. Probably. There's the main character is an unreliable narrator. There's an AI who's her best friend who's also unreliable, and another character who's unreliable. So you get 3 unreliable characters all hunting for who's killing rich people on this like Sentry ship or this giant spaceship in space where everyone's spacey. It's funny. It's sharp. The art by Liana Kangas fits the story pretty well. It's got enough of like bright kind of light breeziness to keep it going, but it's a pretty dark tale. And like I really do like the main character. Her name's Elise, and like as far as a compelling character, I think she's it. And then the supporting cast with the kind of sarcastic AI that doesn't always take orders, and then the other dude whose name I can't remember. But yeah, I'm really liking this one. It's a lot of fun. I know I've said that way too many times. It's been a long week, people, and in some way, it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It's just been long. Know Your Station number 3. I will hunt down number 4, and I would say probably at this point, I know, like I've said a couple times on this list, get it collected. But if you can find the first a couple issues, maybe pick it up. It's not going to get like this one clear, like Barbaric. they're probably not. And I know none of these. Like honestly, maybe Nemesis is going to get turned like optioned or like spec'd on. But like if you just want good solid reads, these are the last couple books in that stack, and like they're all solid reads. Like none of them are like spec comics, and none of them are like going to get turned into like almost certainly not going to get turned into anything in another medium. They're just good solid comics, and I think that's enough. I think that's great. I enjoy reading comics for comics' sake. I don't feel the need to read books that are going to get turned into movies, or like that's not why I read. I read because I like the medium of comics. And we're not done. No, I got one more. This is my book of the week. Surprising, and it surprised me. 8 Billion Genies, number 8. It's the last issue of 8 Billion Genies. This entire series basically came down to whether or not Charles Soule was going to stick the landing, and I think he did. This is Charles Soule and Ryan Brown. And like basically everyone on the planet got a genie, issue number 1. 8 billion of them, right? And then it was like 8 minutes later, 8 hours later, 8 days later, 8 weeks later, 8 whatever, decades, 800 years later. This is 800 years later. This is the end of the run. This is the wrap up of the story. I've been critical of this as far as the story goes because it's not necessarily a traditional story. There's not like one protagonist to root for. It's an idea. So like the idea kind of is this narrative here, and this book shifts it all around a little bit, but it's in a necessary way, and like does tie it all back together to what happens in in the first issue in a satisfying way. And while I don't think it's going to probably make my book like top 10 books of the year or anything, I do think that like it is a satisfying 8-issue story, and like I do think you can actually read it issue to issue and still be, because the nature of like how the story was structured, you can do all right with it. And then Ryan Brown's art is like scribbly and kind of dirty in a good way. Like it's like they're just damaged the spec on that book. But anyways, yeah, it took a little while to grow on me, but I do think it ends up fitting the series. And this is a good, solid way to wrap this up. It doesn't really leave room for a sequel. It doesn't really like leave you hanging. It's just like, oh, that's the story that they wanted to tell, and we're done. And I kind of liked it. I like the idea that like when the writer and the artist are done with the story, they're done, and like you don't feel the need to be like, oh well, in case we wanted to open it back up for other shit, we should just leave a couple of ways out here. And like not all stories need a way out, and this one doesn't really leave you much of a one. But yeah, 8 Billion Genies, number 8, my book of the week. It's a big old stack of books. And if you've made it this far in my review and if you're still watching, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Don't be a dick, even if you have a giant stack and then still realize you wanted a bigger stack. It's all about length and girth, people. Length and girth. But yeah, don't be a dick. I'll talk to y'all later. See ya.